probably going to need to negotiate with something at some point, so let's just keep this person on the back burner, and eventually we'll use them.
And eventually they just like procrastinated a little too long, and they were all old, and you know,
and they like felt bad. And they become friends, and
or their movement fell apart, and they all got hauled away and just locked in some cell that nobody knows about. Yeah, these are all possibilities.
They forgot that they had a prisoner locked up. Too bad for Jim. Yeah. We all just took off. No, I don't think so. But so one last strange occurrence, and nobody knows if this is related or not. But 5 months after he disappeared, his sister was murdered.
That's weird.
She was bludgeoned to death, wasn't she?
Yeah, like a crowbar.
Like a brutal murder.
They're not sure. They didn't recover the weapon, but they thought it was either like a crowbar or something like that.
And it wasn't.
There was blood splattered all around.
Yeah, I was gonna say the police report said there was literally blood on every wall of her bedroom.
Yeah.
And it was an unsolved murder.
Yeah, it was. The police said that it was not related, but how the hell would they know that? I mean, it might have been. I mean, I can't.
It could have been.
I can't say one way or the other.
And she was not like a public figure in her own right, as far as we know.
No.
She was also a good bit older than he was. She was like 9 years older than him, because he was born in 1906. He was like in his 60s.
He was 61, I believe, when he died.
And she was 74 when she was killed.
That's not totally unusual, though.
No, but she's a fair bit older. There's a bit of a generational gap there that, you know, if I was going to run in certain circles and do something, and my brother or sister who's around the same age would likely be involved in those same things. But when you get 10, 12, 15 years apart, there's less chance of that.
But there's also like a even less chance of you being kidnapped and your sister being bludgeoned to death.
It does seem to kind of defy the odds.
You know,
no, it totally defies the odds. He's right. You're right. I get it.
So it is one of those weird things that maybe it adds something, maybe it doesn't.
Yeah, there might be an angle here that nobody really knows about.
Yeah,
there might be somebody who had a grudge against the family, and they kidnapped him and murdered him, and then murdered her 5 months later. That's possible, but nobody knows. There's no evidence that these things are related.
Yeah.
But it kind of seems like maybe they would be. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's that whole, again, we've talked about this before, the whole kind of grasping at straws. There's not a whole lot of information, so...
there really isn't.
If there's two weird occurrences connected to one thing, it's hard to not connect them.
Yeah. So, but it could be, I'll add that to my list of theories, is that he actually wanted to murder his sister, so he disappeared, and then if they ever arrested me, he could say, hey, I was disappeared at the time.
I was
disappeared, dude.
The reason Joe suddenly turned a 90-degree corner on that, ladies and gentlemen, is because I gave him the "Are you kidding me?" look.
Yeah. So.
Oh crap! You guys, Joe's gonna go missing.
We're in trouble.
I didn't say goodnight, so
Joe goes missing, and I'm moving.
Me too. Yeah. Immediately.
So you guys ready to talk about some theories? And
let's do it.
Lots of theories out there.
There really are.
I'm sure.
And some of them are pretty outlandish. Do you want to start with the more mundane ones, or do you
Let's just take them in order as you got them on here.
Yeah, I slapped them down kind of randomly.
That's perfect.
Yeah. Okay, so first one, he got lost in the jungle and eventually just died. From whatever, fell down a ravine or over a cliff. So that
seems so unlikely to me. I mean, I guess the jungle is dangerous, but if he had the life that you described prior, it seems like he would have known how to traverse the jungle and been pretty hardened and
he apparently, according to people who knew him, he apparently had jungle survival training and all that stuff. And so actually just the day before, he and his friend Dr. Ling had been out on a walk in the jungle, and they got lost just the day before, and they found their way out. So that is one though, but there are, I mean, the jungle does have dangerous stuff going on in it.
And the thing about the jungle is, so there's several hundred people at a time combing the jungle for you, but it's still the jungle. And by that I mean lots of vegetation that's dense. And if I get hurt, I fall down or something bites me and takes a chunk out of me and I'm not doing so well, and I crawl up against the edge of a tree to try and hide against it and hide behind some leaves, and then I die there, somebody could walk 2 feet next to it and never know that the body was there.
Okay.
It happens all the time.
So I'm gonna like dual side this for a minute here.
Okay.
So I'm willing to say it's possible, but given the credentials of the people who were looking for him, they would have seen something.
You would think so.
They would. No, I mean they would have. It's not even like I would think so. I'm like 99% sure they would have seen something. If he was bleeding and crawled any amount of distance, they would have seen something. Whether it was a mass of flies going to that spot, or the actual blood stain, or
you're right. There should be physical evidence.
Mild disturbance because he would have fought, right? I mean, it wouldn't have been like a just random, like, one bite and then you're dead. And if it was,
it could be a snake.
Snakes do that though.
Well, and they do one bite and they poison you,
and they take off.
Right, but then you would fall down and you would disturb. I'm just saying.
I understand. There should be physical signs.
On the other hand, if you are a trained spy, trained in espionage, trained in how to move through the jungle without leaving a trace, you just naturally fall into that. I can tell you from personal experience that you fall into that.
The thing about it is, though, is that if you're lost in, like, say, in the jungle or wherever, you're going to want to leave marks for your own reference point. Because if you wind up going in circles, you want to know this. And so you need to, so you're going to break branches deliberately.
So then the assumption would be that he didn't know he was lost.
At a certain point, he must have known he was lost.
Right, but I think, the assumption is right that, like, he didn't know he was lost, and he got, like, bit by a snake and just fell down dead.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, there's that. Yeah.
But then I still maintain that, like, a snake isn't going to eat you whole.
No.
So there would have been signs of the, like...
Well, I mean,
the scavengers would have been
some remains would have been found. I mean, obviously scavengers would have come along and chewed on you.
And they leave signs.
And it would. Yeah, and so it's kind of it. I mean, I think it's possible still that he got lost and somehow just died by accident. I found a quote from the internet regarding this. The person said basically, and I cleaned up the grammar just a little bit.
Okay.
But his quote is, quote, "People in the Malaysian jungle are like people climbing up mountains covered with snow. Many get lost, many vanish. Jim Thompson is one of them." So that's what this guy said on the internet. And here's another quote from somebody in the Malaysian jungle: "To walk away from a group or walk away from your house in the evening is a high risk. There's a high-risk thing even today, not to talk about 40 years ago."
But it wasn't.
And I've never been in the Malaysian jungle. I've been in other jungles, never been in the Malaysian jungle. But it sounds like, it's very, very easy to get lost in those jungles.
I guess depending on the account. Either way, though, I don't think that in March 3:30 or 1:30, respectively, are the evening necessarily. You have a reference, and even if it is cover, again, I just go back to like his training and the credentials of people who were looking for him. I find it hard to believe that if he had simply been lost and died in the jungle, that he would have never been found.
Yeah, no, it is.
For either he wouldn't have been lost, or he would have left marks, or somebody would have found him.
Yeah, and they would have, like, say if he'd gotten lost and died, and then animals had eaten on him, they would have drug his stuff. His clothes would have been spread all around and stuff like that. And so
especially if it was like a actual predator, like a tiger or something, they would have pulled him up into a tree. There would have been a fight, a struggle.
The tiger, I don't know if there would have been that much of a fight.
Well, there would have been a little bit of a struggle, I'm sure. I mean, they're not.
I think it would have been like Chomp.
Yeah, but they're not like secret killers, right? I mean, they leave behind.
There would have been a bit of a fuss and maybe a little bit of a mess,
blood and
Are there tigers in Malaysia?
There are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you're just making up an example of a big cat or not. I was like, you guys are really serious about this tiger angle.
Yeah. No, actually, that is another one of the theories, is that he was eaten by a tiger or something, and so that is one of the theories. Of course, the tiger is not going to go to the trouble to hide the remains.
No,
and so they probably would have stumbled across the remains.
But some big, and I don't know what big cats are in that area, and maybe you guys have a better idea than I do. I didn't think to look into that. But some big cats a lot of them are known to drag whatever they kill up a tree.
Yeah, but then you see the drag marks.
Potentially, maybe.
And then you're searching and you're standing under the tree, just sort of like standing there looking around, and suddenly you feel this drip,
like Predator
on the top of your head. Yeah.
No, I mean, I think you're seeing the scavengers that are coming after it.
I'm not disagreeing with you at all.
You know, I mean, it happens for a long time.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and also, you know, I mean, the manhunt went on for days, and so obviously the tiger had himself a pretty decent meal.
And then they leave it.
And then there's from the tiger's point of view, there's all these people out there. It's good eats.
Mm-hmm.
You know, why didn't he eat somebody else? So I don't know.
So if there are tigers, are there did the Aborigines do like tiger pits or
absolutely
anything like that?
That's another one of the theories.
Oh,
is that apparently that they did use tiger pits to catch tigers, and one of the theories is that he was wandering through the jungle and he fell into a tiger pit. And I don't know what the protocol is for a tiger pit. I mean, in theory, they're so camouflaged. I mean, obviously, a tiger is not just going to walk into an open hole. You have to cover him up with stuff. Mm-hmm. So he gets all the way out or mostly onto this thing, and then it collapses, and he falls into the hole. He's impaled on spikes, you know, all this stuff. And so when you've done something like that, you obviously don't want your friends and neighbors walking into this pit. So wouldn't you put some sort of sign or signal? Mm-hmm. I mean, you can put a sign up that says "Danger Tiger Pit," and the tiger's not going to be able to read the sign. You know? I mean, so I don't know what the protocol is or was back in those days for something like that. But anyway, that is the theory: is that he fell into a tiger pit.
Well,
the Aborigines come back and they see that they've just killed a white guy, and you know, back in those days, it's probably could bring some bad mojo down in your head.
Serious strife, yeah.
Yeah. And so seeing this, they just said, well, let's just fill in the hole, dudes. What do you think? What do you say? So that's possible.
I guess it's also, you know, it's not, depending on how, like, warring the tribes are, it's probably not a huge concern if, like, some Dumbo from the neighboring tribe wanders into your pit and kills himself because he's in your territory, and oh well.
Yeah.
You know, so.
But this would have been very close to a hill station, which is basically a town.
So it should have been labeled.
A town, yeah. I mean, out in the deep jungle maybe, but close to a town like that, you're gonna have all kinds of people walking around out there. Okay, next theory, he got whacked, and by whacked,
by the mafia.
Yeah, not by the mob necessarily, but it's possible that there was a hit by a business or political enemies. A business competitor could have had him killed.
Well,
I have heard that happens in Thailand. I mean,
and we were talking about he was on the blacklist, so it's not inconceivable that, you know, his ex-business associates whacked him.
Well, yeah, they're. I don't think that. I'm sure they wouldn't have whacked him just for basically criticizing U.S. and CIA policy.
Right, but if he was.
But they at this time. They had, you've heard of the Secret War in Laos and all that stuff, and Air America and all that stuff. And
I do co-host a podcast called Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah.
So I have.
You have heard of that?
Have you?
Okay.
I have.
Okay.
Yeah,
I watched Air America.
I just make sure we've all heard of
that
it.
bad movie with, was it Robert Downey Jr. and Mel Gibson? That was not really a good movie.
Oh, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. It was kind of amusing in parts. But so they were ramping up their Secret War in Laos, and since, of course, obviously he wasn't in the loop on that, but at the same time he had a lot of contacts in Thailand and Laos, so he quite possibly got wind of that and maybe was talking about threatening to go public with the story. And so
expose it.
Yeah, so that would give them a little motivation to have him whacked.
Yeah,
and again, because he could have been whacked just by some by some business competitor.
Yeah.
Could have been that.
Also possible.
Of course, you know, at the same time, they didn't do a very good job of it because the Thai Silk Company continued on. So it would have made more sense to whack him and also burn the company down.
Correct me if I'm wrong, I swear in the reading that the Thai Silk Company, once he disappeared, they started using his face in all their advertising and basically changed their name to the Jim Thompson Silk Company.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they just embraced his personality and his disappearance and used that.
Yeah, they kind of milked the whole thing.
Which is wild.
Yeah, if you go out to their webpage, it's like jimthompson.com or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go visit those guys if I ever get to Bangkok.
Maybe somebody in the company, you know, knowing that they went that route, I can wonder if maybe somebody in the company is going, you know, we're doing all right, but things are kind of flagging, and we really, really need to drum up some public support and sympathy for the company. You know, Jim's kind of been a jerk for the last 5 years, and I've had enough of his crap. It could have been an internal. We keep talking about it could have been somebody external who came after him. It could have been a company internal, you know,
somebody else in the company
situation.
Sure.
Yeah.
Somehow he doesn't strike me as a jerk.
Yeah,
I don't think he was a jerk
either.
But you know, there's all kinds of things that you don't hear about. I mean, there's all kinds of details that always get lost in the shuffle.
Sure.
But yeah, I think that if it was somebody in the business, even for that matter, a business competitor. That's why I don't buy the whole theory that he got whacked by a business competitor, because it would have made a lot more sense to just stab him to death or shoot him in some alley in Bangkok
and leave his body there.
Yeah, because Bangkok, I think, is probably a more dangerous place with a lot more crime and murder,
a lot more so
than the Cameron Highlands.
Now.
Yeah. And so it would really make a lot more sense to just shoot him and take his wallet and his watch, and
right,
it looks
and
like a
people
robbery.
exactly.
Yeah, it looks like and so with that, and plus if you follow somebody all the way to Malaysia, and he's catching multiple flights to get there and everything, you're following him all the way there, you're going to leave a lot of fingerprints. You're catching flights and stuff like that.
There's a paper trail.
Yeah, there is a paper trail. So that's why I don't think it was that. Could have been the CIA, but again, I think they would have just whacked him in Bangkok too.
Again, yeah.
Yeah. This is theory number 4 or 5, I don't know. But anyway, he was accidentally run over, so he was just walking down the road, because there were people actually, a couple of witnesses saw him on roads. One person said she swears she saw him, and she recognized him at about 4 o'clock p.m. on a road. She came down, he walked down a road and stopped in their garden and looked around, and then eventually left.
That would make sense. I mean, it would make sense for somebody who knew that the jungle was dangerous but wanted to take a walk.
Yeah, go down the road.
You just walk the road.
Yeah, there's no say. Yeah, I mean, he went for a walk. He didn't necessarily go into the jungle.
Right.
But here's the one thing that and I know that we haven't gone into this, but the thing that I have a problem with about he took a long walk is, if he was going to go for a walk, he left a lot of things behind. Like, he didn't take a jacket. But one of the things that he didn't take with him was his cigarettes, because he was evidently a notorious heavy smoker. And anybody who knows a smoker, if they're going to be gone for more than half an hour, they take their cigarettes with them.
Oh, hell yeah.
Well,
but he left them behind.
Unless they're taking a nap.
Yeah,
but if he's going to take a nap, then why did he go stare at this person's garden a half hour to
she was
2.5 hours later?
That was 2.5 hours later. Yeah, so he was out. But the thing about it is they found a pack of smokes that were there, but that doesn't mean he left his smokes behind. He might have had more than one pack.
That's true. It doesn't say if it was his open pack of cigarettes. That's very true.
And also, we all know smokers that have like 5-pack going at a time.
Oh, well, there's only 2 in this one, but I'll just take the full pack with me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. So he didn't necessarily leave without his smokes. I mean, that is a relevant fact.
I remember reading that his lighter wasn't with him. He was there still in his room and stuff.
Well,
if
he is actually a good 5-star smoker, he's going to have more than one lighter, too.
I mean...
Yeah.
All right. Right now, you shot me down. Continue
I haven't shot you down at all.
I'm
just pointing out that, it doesn't... Yeah, it might have been. It almost sounds like he was going to go take a nap, but
yeah, I mean, it's that whole sign off, right? I mean, if that's the traditional, hey, I'm going to go sleep, sign off. Maybe he's going to go take a nap.
Could there have been a tiger waiting for him by the hammock?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and again, I'm playing devil's advocate here today, but I know the whole goodnight sweetheart thing. I didn't read that as just for when I'm going to go lay down and take a nap. I read it more as whenever you're going to leave for a while. So I'm going to go take a hike. Like, let's say he and his friend the day before had gone on a hike. So theoretically, the way I interpreted it, they would have said to the ladies, "Good night, sweetheart," and left. And they come back eventually from their walk, whereas you two have both kind of interpreted that as it's only a sleep sign-off. I read it as always whenever you were leaving.
I guess my comeback to that would be if he was this kind of survivalist, that he, was trained and all that stuff. You tell somebody where you're going.
It's always a good idea.
If you're going for a walk, especially if you're going for a walk in the jungle, but if you're going for a walk, you don't say "Oh, goodbye, sweetheart." Nothing else.
That's
you
very
say,
true.
"I'm going for a walk. Good night, sweetheart."
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with that. That makes sense.
There's just something missing in this.
A little bit, yeah. Maybe he wanted to be alone. You would think he would say something on the order of "Hey, going for a walk. Anybody want to come with?"
Well, even if he wanted to be alone, I think he
might have wanted to be alone.
It's pretty reasonable to just say, like, I'm going for a walk. Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he didn't say that.
We've all done that when we were out, like camping or whatever,
when
and you just need to get away from the group.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, I don't know.
So maybe he was run over.
Most mysterious. Yeah, my theory is that he was his lighter stopped working, and so he decided to go down to the Quickie Mart, buy himself a new lighter, plus an extra pack of smokes while he was down there, and he got run over on the way. Anyway, let's get back to the theories here. So he was accidentally run over. So he was walking around on the roads, and I have heard, and I'd never been to Malaysia. I really wanted to go. Actually, I've got friends living over there. I hope before they come back to the States, I have time and money to get over there.
Let's all go.
Yeah.
It'll be like a field assignment.
Yeah, if you guys want to come with, we can do we can do our podcast.
Yeah, Thinking Sideways Malaysia edition.
Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, they live in Kuala Lumpur, and it would be really major fun to go over there. But I diverge here. But Malaysian driving, I understand, is kind of dangerous and crazy. It's that way in much of the world, really.
Yeah.
So if again, it's like the tiger pit thing. If you run over this guy and you recognize him as not just being a guy, but a white guy and a famous white guy,
or famous rich white guy,
and
who's kind of a national hero for Thailand.
Yeah, exactly. And they'd be thinking, oh man, my life is over, but what if I hide the body? And so they shove the body into some bushes, and then after dark they come back with a shovel and just bury him. So I think this one is actually a credible theory. Do you guys have any thoughts on that theory at all?
I can see it happening.
Yeah.
So far, most credible.
It's
a lot of credence.
It's a good contender. Another theory is that he ran away from home, and there are people that are actually positive this theory that he was tired of his life and wanted to just make a new start. And I don't believe it because number one, he doesn't need to go to Cameron Highlands to disappear and do that. He can put his affairs in order back in Bangkok.
Also, he's a super rich, super famous kind of national hero white dude who lives in Thailand.
And so you want to just like disappear, become like kind of homeless, and be like dirt poor and and all this stuff. Why would he do that? That makes utterly no sense. All right, our next theory is suicide. People have claimed that he, committed suicide. I don't buy this one because nobody reported him being depressed or anything like that. It's also hard to commit suicide and not leave a body behind.
I was about to say, okay, this we could dive into this, but I think we've kind of beaten the crap out of what would happen when we were talking about the tiger bit. Is that there'd be the body and there's all the signs and all the things.
I guess it's more credible to me though. Like if there were a ravine or a river, I don't know what the topography of that is. Like he's deciding I'm not going to leave a trace, and I'm going to throw myself into this ravine, and my body will float down the river out to the sea, and that'll be it. I could see that.
Yeah, but it's not likely to. It's what's going to happen is it's going to float down the river, and it's going to get caught up in some logs and snags and stuff.
Sure,
it'll be found. But
there's
a way you can do it. The way you do it is you get yourself a carabiner, some heavy chain, and a couple of large weights, like used for a weight set.
Carry them into the jungle.
You carry them
without
miles
leaving
into the
a
jungle.
trace.
Exactly. You carry them miles into the jungle until you find a deep pool, and you basically chain the weights to your neck, and then lock them with the carabiner, and then just dive headfirst into the pool.
That seems really likely.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Yeah,
I'd say
there's a lot of issues with.
Yeah,
this.
I mean, I think there are ways to commit suicide and conceal the body, but they're not easy. And so
that's a lot. That's an obscene amount of planning and effort.
No.
Yeah, and so suicide, I think, is kind of not. So much for suicide. Another theory is that he was abducted by communist guerrillas, and apparently there were some communist guerrillas in the area.
And that's what we talked about briefly in the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if they abducted him, I suppose they could have just abducted him and killed him. But here's the thing: is that people being abducted by communist guerrillas in the area didn't seem to be a really common thing. Yeah.
There's not a lot of stories of that happening.
Yeah, the communist guerrillas would very likely have not had even any clue that he was there. It would have been a totally random thing that they stumbled upon him. And again, I'm not even convinced that he was wandering around the jungle where the communists would have been hiding. So I think we can dismiss this one. Not entirely, but kind of so.
I mean,
kind of, sort of.
Let's be fair, it's not so far from Vietnam.
Yeah, no, it's not. Well,
It's also not super close.
And it could have been some Viet Cong like on a field trip.
Yeah.
Maybe they were on vacation.
Left over, or they could have been left over. They could have been left over and not known that the war was over.
The war was actually not over by that time.
The war hadn't started.
No, the war had started, but it was 67.
Well, it hadn't. According, I think at that point, according to the U.S. military, it hadn't started.
Okay, well,
because everybody follows what the U.S. military says when things do and don't start.
What's the next theory?
Another theory? Okay, kidnapped for ransom.
Yeah,
I think we can dismiss this one out of hand. Since,
okay,
nobody ever got a ransom note. So, and last of all,
nope.
Yep, disappeared so he could get a sex change. And the reasoning behind this is that he wanted to become like an ascended master in silk, and apparently to learn all the highest secrets of silk and silk making and all that stuff, you have to be a woman. I'm not saying I buy this, but I've actually heard this. I've actually seen this on the interwebs.
A serious theory?
I've seen it out there. I don't know if these people were serious. I can't believe anybody would take this seriously. No, personally, I don't think so.
I gotta be honest. I thought you made this up.
I did too.
No, I did not make it up.
This is like a typical Joe prank.
I saw this on the interwebs.
Oh
wow!
I saw this on the World Wide Web.
Wait, so recap. What would the reason be for this to happen?
Because he wants to become an ascended master of silk making, and in order apparently to learn all the highest secrets of silk making, you have to be a woman. It's forbidden to teach them to a man.
But he wasn't making this silk.
But he was interested in making.
He was interested in the silk thing. I mean, obviously, I think that most likely whoever put this theory out there was just having fun too. I don't think anybody seriously could buy this.
I agree.
Yeah, because and also, by the way, he leaves, becomes a woman, learns everything he can about silk, but never puts it to use.
Then he's out of luck, right?
They can't put it to use because so obviously it's ridiculous, but it's kind of funny, and so I thought I'd share it with our listeners.
Okay, that's way out in left field.
Oh yeah. So to wind up our mystery, some bones were found in 1985, a few miles down the road in another one of them hill station towns. Yeah, and from where he was last seen. And the tribesmen who found the bones, they were buried in a shallow grave, and they found the bones and gave them to the police. And the police apparently with some human bones, no head, and they gave them to the police. And the police apparently have never bothered to do any sort of DNA analysis on those. And I don't know how easy that would be. I guess you'd have to dig up his sister and see if you can salvage a little DNA from her.
Well, I think you can kind of map the basic genome, right? You can at least tell what race that person is.
Yeah, whether they're male or female.
Whether they're male or female. To the DNA level, there's a lot of things.
You
look at it and you figure out, is it a man or a woman?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, can we infer, as Devin said, the race? And then if it is a white guy, then it would be worth to try and get the money to do the DNA. But
but also maybe not. If the jungle is as dangerous as they've been saying, there's a ton of stupid white dudes out there.
Well, exactly.
On top of the other millions of tribes people who have somehow vanished.
And that's the thing is that it could be him, but there's probably lots and lots of people who died and were buried in shallow graves.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to find out, but apparently nobody's taken the trouble to do so far. So that's it. So I'm going to go for...
solved it, huh?
Oh, totally did. No, I'm going to go for... But the theory I'm going to vote for is that somebody ran him down and just hid the body. What do you guys think?
You know what? Honestly, that one appeals to my common sense the most. Knowing what I know about him, knowing what I know about the people who looked for him.
Uh-huh.
He doesn't seem like the kind of guy to just be like, I'm just going to wander into the jungle by myself.
Well,
without telling anybody.
Yeah, and again, he was lost the previous day, and he found his way out. Yeah, he did.
He seems like the kind of guy who would have been able to get out of the jungle had he been stuck there. He would have left a trace if he had been attacked. Walking down the road is the logical, especially after getting lost maybe the night before, right? If you get lost the night before going in the jungle, you're not going to be like, I'll just go back into the jungle.
Face twice.
Yeah. No, you're going to use the roads and, accidentally getting hit. Yeah, for whatever reason, I agree with Joe tonight.
Yeah.
I see a lot of credence in that, but there's this whole disappearance is just so out of the blue for me that I kind of lean towards somebody taking him. I'm not saying who took him or for what reason, but it's so out of character for so many reasons that we've said.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that I could see that would make sense for why he would just vanish into the blue.
You know what's interesting is that we've done 2 mysterious disappearances in a row, right, at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And neither of them brought up alien abduction.
Or the chupacabra.
Which is weird, right? Though, because these are both weird, especially this one. It's just he just disappeared into thin air.
He vanished. Yeah.
And nobody's it was probably aliens. That isn't even on the list. And there's so many other things that made it onto the list that are crazy.
Yeah, but there were no jungle crop circles. There was no decimated cows. There was nothing to indicate that the aliens were there.
Fair.
Yeah,
okay,
no,
that's
it's
fair.
fair enough.
Yeah.
But I thought you would think if they were going to be anywhere, they'd be in the Cameron Highlands.
It's pretty.
I hear it
Pretty
is.
high up, too.
Yeah.
Easy landing
Pretty
spot.
high,
See?
yeah. So we don't know, but we're gonna lay money, I think, on getting run over, because I still think that if you're gonna do something like kidnap him or kidnap him or just take him so you can kill him and throw his body in the river or something like that, you would do it in Bangkok, because that's where he's at. He didn't, I don't know how many people he informed of his plans to go to Malaysia. Probably not that many people knew. And so it would just seem a lot simpler to do it in Bangkok, where he is 90% of the time. And so that's why I'm leaning towards somebody ran him over kind of theory.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is when somebody gets run over, you can go look for a car that's got damage to the grill. But this is the third world where every car is already beat up. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
No obvious sign.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess that's it. I guess we solved that mystery. So yeah, time to tell you a few fun facts. Well, first of all, find us on Facebook and like us, like the hell out of us. Like us multiple times if you possibly can. Of
You
course,
can like and unlike us.
Oh yeah. Of course, you can find us on iTunes, and you probably know this because that's probably where you found us already. But if you don't know this, find us on iTunes. You can download our episodes. Leave a comment, leave a rating. We would really appreciate that, especially a good rating. And also, you can find us on Stitcher if you don't have time for the whole download thing. You can just find us on Stitcher and stream us. Also, you can find our episodes on our website, which is thinkingsidewayspodcast.com. All right. And also, we would love it. We would love to hear from you if you have any thoughts. We like positive stuff, like Joe is really wonderful and sexy.
We get a lot of those.
Oh, yeah. So far, we have gotten tons of those. But so please send us emails, and obviously critical ones too. We've actually received some critical emails in the past, and we appreciate those too, because hey, feedback is good. Even sometimes negative feedback can be more useful than positive feedback.
Yeah, there's things we do wrong, and we correct them.
Absolutely. So by all means, be critical. And last of all, we have a little bit of listener email to read to you.
So this email is from Mike. Mike says, I'm so glad I came across your podcast. It shot up to my favorites quickly. I've always been highly interested in the wow signal. Thanks. And that's how I found your show. It's right up my alley. It's done perfectly. Please never quit. I've binge listened all week and dread the depression that I'll hit once I catch up. I have a few topics that you guys can look into. And it gives us a couple of things, one of which we're about to do.
Hey, don't be giving away hints.
There's 5 suggestions here. He doesn't know.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're going to do one of those. Don't worry.
Yeah.
And then it says, I only really know famous unsolved mysteries. I wish I had a not-so-known one for you. I really just wanted to say how much I've been enjoying your podcast. I love that the 3 of you take the bull crap like ghosts and magic and stuff completely out of the equation and look at the matter in a realistic way. Thanks for reading.
Oh, thank you, Mike.
I love this.
you like getting the positive ones, yeah.
I do. Well, I mean, as we've talked about, I like the negative ones too, in that it gives us something to improve on, because we're human and we are not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know what we're doing wrong.
Sometimes I really just think we don't know what we're doing.
Because we don't. We have no idea what we're doing. We're just 3 people sitting in a room talking into microphones and then putting it out. And somehow people are liking it.
It's pretty random, yeah.
So,
but thanks for the email.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah,
really appreciate it.
Thanks for the email, and that's about it for this week. Tune in next week when we're going to solve a really exciting mystery. It's the mystery of... I'm just kidding. I'm not going to tell you. It's going to be a surprise. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thinking Sideways is not brought to you by Code-Breaking Termites. Instead, it's supported by the generous donations of our listeners on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/thinkingsideways to learn more. And thanks.
Thinking Sideways.
I don't understand.
Does not compute.
You never know.
Insufficient data to formulate a slide.
What?
Stories of things we simply don't know the answer to.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Thinking Sideways, the podcast. I am Devin, joined as usual by
Steve.
Good one,
Perfect.
guys.
Yeah.